Nnamaka was in her final year at the university when her friend Amarachi invited her to her traditional marriage ceremony as one of her Asoebi girls. On the day of the event, Nnamaka was dressed in a beautiful Ankara attire with tastefully done makeup to enhance her natural beauty. The event was the kind of love she had always dreamed of, pure, undeniable, and celebrated by everyone. As she sat among her friends laughing and chatting, a distinguished man caught her eye. He was tall, dark, and impeccably dressed in a costume-fitted senator. His name was Elochukwu, and he exuded confidence and sophistication. Nnamaka watched him from the corner of her eye as she tried to focus on the ceremony. Elochukwu had noticed her and had twice waved at her. He was interested in her and could not wait for a brief lull in the festivities to speak to her. As the ceremony continued, soon there was a period of calmness. Elochukwu made his way over to Nnamaka. "Hello, beautiful. I am Elochukwu. I haven't seen you around before," he said to Nnamaka. Nnamaka was surprised by his directness. "Hi, I am Nnamaka. Amarachi the bride is my roommate at school." Elochukwu, with a smile in his face, said to her, "Well, Amarachi is lucky to have such a stunning friend." They exchanged small talk, and Elochukwu was immediately taken by Nnamaka's wit and intelligence. Unlike the superficial conversations he often had with women who were only interested in his wealth, Nnamaka's questions and responses were thoughtful, and she didn't seem overly impressed by his status. She laughed easily and spoke about her final year at university and her plans for the future. As the night wore on, their discussions continued. Elochukwu was captivated by her unassuming nature and the effortless way she carried herself. Before he left, he asked her for her number, and Nnamaka, though initially hesitant, gave it to him. There was something about Elochukwu that intrigued her, something she couldn't quite put into words. That night, as Nnamaka returned home, she couldn't stop thinking about Elochukwu. She told herself not to get too carried away. After all, she is just a student and Elochukwu is a wealthy businessman. But something about their interaction had left her with butterflies, and she found herself hoping he would call. The very next day, Elochukwu called her in the early hours of the morning, and their conversations flowed effortlessly. They talked about everything about their lives. Elochukwu told her about his journey to the way up, with nothing but a dream and sheer determination. His drive and ambition got Nnamaka's admiration. They started courting, and Elochukwu sent things to her hostel, surprising her with thoughtful gifts. He took her to romantic dates, to the finest restaurants. Nnamaka was marveled by his humility and genuine interest in her. As their relationship progressed, her friends looked on in awe of the way he was treating her. He provided her with everything she could ask of and encouraged her to focus on her studies. Elochukwu often traveled for business and took on late-night calls. Most at times, Nnamaka wondered if she was good enough for someone like him. But Elochukwu found ways to let her know how serious he is about their relationship. However, he had made it clear that he valued his personal space, especially when it comes to his phone. "I don't go through your phone and I don't expect you to go through mine," he told Nnamaka, who had over time tried to check out his phone. Nnamaka was excited she had found someone who understood her and wanted to build a life with her, hence didn't let his rule bother her. After all, he was a generous and loving partner. She trusted him completely and saw no reason to invade his privacy. After her graduation, Elochukwu took her on a trip to celebrate her academic achievements. One night, while they were having their dinner, Elochukwu told Nnamaka that she was the best thing that has ever happened to him. He told her that she is his peace, joy, and heart's desire, and then asked her to marry him. Nnamaka accepted his proposal, and they both had a great time in the city they went to, and then went back home and prepared for their marriage. They had one of the best weddings of the year. Nnamaka's parents could not hide their pride. They saw Elochukwu as a blessing, a man who would not only love their daughter but also elevate their family's financial status. After the wedding, Nnamaka moved into Elochukwu's luxury mansion. Even as married couple, Elochukwu spared no expenses to make her life as comfortable as possible. He paid for her younger siblings' school fees and ensured her parents had a comfortable life. A few months into their marriage, Nnamaka found out she was pregnant. Elochukwu was over the moon. He cared for her throughout her pregnancy journey and she finally gave birth to a baby boy. The couple felt their lives were complete. Nonetheless, Nnamaka's joy was toned down by news from home. Her mother had fallen seriously ill and was unable to travel to help with the new baby as she had planned. The postpartum period was challenging for her, and so her elder sister Adako, whose marriage had recently ended due to irreconcilable differences, offered to come and stay with them for a while. Adako spent 2 weeks and proved to be an invaluable support system to the newborn mom. Nnamaka was grateful, and when it was time for her sister to leave, she and her husband Elochukwu gave her a sustainable amount of money to support her business and help her start afresh after her failed marriage. Nnamaka's life continued smoothly as she embodied her role as a mother and a wife. Elochukwu remained a loving and caring husband, still traveling frequently for work but always making time for his family when he could. Nnamaka was grateful for the support of her husband, even though his frequent absence sometimes left her feeling lonely. Years passed and Nnamaka gave birth to 2 more children, another boy and a girl, completing their family of 5. Nnamaka enjoyed being a mother, and Elochukwu was a proud father who adored his children. Elochukwu's business continued to flourish, and he provided Nnamaka and the children with the best of things that money could buy. Nnamaka was lonely because of Elochukwu's constant business trips, but kept herself busy with her children and took comfort in the stability Elochukwu provided. One night, while the family was in the living room watching a popular TV series, Elochukwu handed his phone to his eldest son to play games with before dozing off on the couch. The phone rang twice and Nnamaka noticed the name on the screen, Sister Chioma. After the phone rang a 3rd time, she decided to take the call since Elochukwu was fast asleep. "Hi, sweet," a familiar voice greeted on the other end. Nnamaka's blood ran cold. She recognized the voice immediately. It was Adako. But why was she calling Elochukwu sweet? And why is her name saved as Sister Choma? Confused and alarmed, she quickly ended the call. She pounded on the wires for a long moment and then decided to check the messages between Elochukwu and this Sister Choma. What she found made her heart stop. The messages were filled with intimate conversations, plans to meet up, and photos exchanged. Nnamaka's worst fears were confirmed when she realized that Elochukwu and Adako had been having an affair since the birth of their first child. Elochukwu had been her sole provider, buying her expensive gifts, including the car she drives. Nnamaka's world crumbled. She felt betrayed, humiliated, and lost. Her husband, the man she had trusted with her whole heart, had been cheating on her with her own sister right under her nose. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the messages. Her elder sister Adako had become not just her husband's lover but a second wife in everything but name. She felt sick to her stomach, angry, heartbroken, and betrayed. She wanted to confront him right then and there, to scream and demand answers, but the fear of losing her marriage, her children's stable life, and the comfort Elochukwu's wealth provided held her back. How could she fight this battle when the enemy is not just her husband but also her sister? She could not bear the burden alone, and so she confided in her mother, hoping to find solace and guidance. But her mother's response only increased her pain. "You must pretend you don't know anything," her mother advised. "Elochukwu has been good to us all. Don't let this come between you. Your sister is wrong, yes, but we cannot afford to lose Elochukwu. I will talk to Adako and make sure this stops." Nnamaka at this point knew her mother was more concerned with preserving her husband's financial assistance than ending the affair. She was troubled by her mother's manipulative counsel and what confronting the truth might cost her. And so she went home feeling crushed. She couldn't muster the courage to question Elochukwu. She continued to live her life with forced smiles and suppressed tears, pretending not to know about her husband's infidelity as advised by her mother regardless of the hurt. Elochukwu never knew she had found out about his affair, and so he continued with his double life. Nnamaka had sometimes caught him stepping outside to take calls he didn't want her to hear, and could barely stand to be in the same room as her sister, who still visits occasionally. Carrying herself with a brazen confidence that made her sick and tired. She couldn't understand how her sister could betray her so callously, and worse, how she could continue the affair with such shamelessness. Nnamaka's mother, true to her word, spoke to Adako about the affair, but not to end it. Instead, she advised her to be discreet and continue to exploit him. She told Adako to make sure she gets all she could from Elochukwu, since he wants to be in the life of two sisters. Nnamaka's mother kept telling her to turn a blind eye to the affair for the sake of their family's financial security. She was sad to be alone in her pain. She thought about leaving, taking her children and starting over somewhere far away. But where would she go? And how would she provide for them without her husband's support? Nnamaka felt paralyzed. One evening, after her children had gone to bed, she reflected on her present life and knew she couldn't continue living like that, pretending everything is fine when her heart is breaking every day. A few months later, Nnamaka told her husband that she is tired of staying home and doing nothing, and would want to start up something to keep herself busy, since he's always traveling. Elochukwu was ready to do anything to keep her happy, because he had noticed she had become a shadow of her usual self. He asked her for her business plan and gave her a huge sum of money to start up after he had looked into it. Just when she was making plans for her next move, her sister Adako called and asked to meet up with her in a restaurant nearby. Nnamaka was hesitant, but later agreed to meet with her sister. When they met, she told her that she was pregnant for her husband, Elochukwu. The news drained her blood and blurred her vision.
"You are what? For who? How could you let this happen?"
She asked her sister with anger and pain. "You knew he is my husband and you still did this?" "I didn't plan this, Nnamaka. I became vulnerable after my divorce and I found solace in the arms of your husband. I wanted to stop, but the more I tried, the more I enjoyed his care. I thought we would keep it a secret, but now I don't know what to do. I can't get rid of this baby. It's all I've got and I would want Elochukwu to be in my child's life." Nnamaka felt like she was drowning. She wanted all that happened to be a dream, but it was all real. "This is your mess, Adako. You and Elochukwu made this bed and now you both have to lie in it," Nnamaka said to her sister Adako. She went home crying and thinking out loud. She felt confronting her husband was her only option, but she was terrified of the consequences. She thought about her children, the life they had built, and the future she had envisioned. When she finally got home, she found her husband sitting in the living room. He had received the news from Adako as well, and Nnamaka could see the guilt lying bare in his eyes. How could you do this to us? Of all the girls to flirt with, my elder sister, my blood relative. With his head hung in shame, he told Nnamaka that he never meant for it to go that far. He told her he was weak and had made terrible decisions, and still professed his love for Nnamaka and their children, saying everything he had done was a mistake. A mistake? This isn't just a mistake. It's a deliberate act of betrayal of everything that we've built together. Nnamaka could not keep silent any longer. The affair had already cost her so much, and what she would not do is to let it destroy her completely. You've made your choice and it's time I make mine. That night, Nnamaka could not bring herself to share a bed with her husband, and so she slept in the guest room. The next morning and days that followed, Elochukwu tried to reach out, but Nnamaka kept her distance, lost in her thoughts about what to do next. She called her parents and told them about the affair, which her mother was already aware of, and then pregnancy. Her mother asked that she forgive her sister and husband and move on, and reminded her of how useful her husband has been to them. Nnamaka at this point realized that her family valued her husband's wealth over her well-being. She had always been taught that family is everything, but now she saw the ugly truth. They would sacrifice her happiness to maintain their comfortable lives. Elochukwu told Nnamaka that he has discussed with her sister and would take care of her child while keeping her at arm's length. He asked for a chance to make things right again, but Nnamaka told him there is nothing to make right, as she would no longer stay married to him and continue to live a lie. She moved out of the mansion with her children and started life anew in another city with the money she had collected from him for a business. The transition was a challenging one, as it was not easy for her to get a job after being a stay-at-home mom and enjoying her husband's wealth for years. She ignored everyone who played a part in her failed marriage, as the wounds were still raw and she needed time to heal. Elochukwu continued to support her financially, sending money for the children's upkeep, but she refused to accept anything beyond what was necessary. She adjusted to her new life and made friends who encouraged her in the new city, and allowed Elochukwu to see their children, even as her heart remained guarded. She told him that he is their father and they need him, but he should never think that the both of them could just go back to how things were. As months passed, Adaku gave birth to a baby girl and worked hard to take care and raise her child to be a better woman than she is. Nnamaka's heart was full. She had survived, rebuilt herself, found peace, and had forgiven the people that erred her. Elochukwu also remarried and found happiness with a woman who understood his past but loved him nonetheless. He remained a dedicated father, grateful for the chance Nnamaka had given him to be part of their children's lives. They understood they were no longer partners in love but partners in parenting, and united they shared their commitment to their children. The family occasionally came together for events, whilst keeping their distance but coexisting peacefully for the sake of their children. The story of Nnamaka and her family taught us that depending too much on others, especially for financial help, can put one in vulnerable positions. It is also important for us to build our own independence. We should also know that trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it would be hard to repay. Hello favorite one, thanks for listening to my stories. Your support means the world to me, and I couldn't do this without you. Your likes, comments, and shares keep me motivated to create more stories. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, Subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so you never miss out on any of my new stories. Thanks again and see you in the next story.